Okay guys, we are in the 2023 Ford Maverick Tremor, and let's take this thing on a full drive. Now, if you haven't seen my full review video, definitely go check that out. I'm going to give you guys a quick tour on the exterior of this little truck. Turn the lights on for you guys. And we have it here in this paint color called Avalanche with the $3,000 Tremor package. It's doing a little bit of some off-roading right now on this rock. You can check out the 17-inch wheels with the Falcon all-terrain rubber on there, making it a little more beefy. We have some cool orange, yellow accents outside, a new bumper for a better approach angle, some recovery hooks up there as well as a skid plate up front. This one also has the EcoBoost engine with an all-wheel drive system, around 250 horsepower, 277 pound-feet of torque, pretty decent. It's got a raised suspension by about an inch. I think it's around like 9.4 inches of ground clearance in total. And of course, we have the Tremor badges back here. This one has a tow hook, though it can only tow 2,000 pounds, not the 4,000 pounds that you can get without the Tremor package. Some mud flaps as well. And of course, this bed back here that is the big iconic part of the Maverick. A lot of fun storage back here. Close that up. Let's go take this thing on a drive, because not only is it decent off-road, but it's actually really fantastic to drive on the road. Of course, you also have rear seats and shove people in back here with some storage underneath these seats as well, which is really cool. Pretty solid platform. Let's go take this thing for a drive. Okay guys, seatbelt on, and this Maverick has actually generally impressed me over this past week. I'm going to back up off this rock for a second. The real impressive part about the Maverick isn't that it's fancy or whatever, because that's not the point of it. It's supposed to be a utilitarian, affordable little compact pickup truck. It's not based on a body on frame platform. It's based on Ford's kind of small car platform. I'll just do a little bit of some mild off-roading here. Wait a second, we got to put this into some off-road mode. So we have this off-road kind of drive mode selector here. We got normal, we got tow haul mode, slippery, mud ruts, sand. Let's put it in mud ruts, because I think there's some ruts right here. Can find the road. You also have a four-wheel drive locks, so you can kind of lock the torque distribution. You also have a rear torque locker, so there's like a multi-plate clutch differential back there. You can lock, it'll evenly split the torque that's being sent back there to all four wheels. I mean, this is what happens when you turn it on. We don't really need that right now whatsoever, but it is a feature to get maximum traction. Okay, let's turn that off. We don't really need it. Hop back into normal mode as well, and we can just head off back onto the regular road. Now this Maverick is very peppy actually with this 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder under the hood. I will say it sounds very raspy and a little bit clunky, if I'm going to be completely honest. There's a little bit of some weird rattles in there, but in its general driving performance, it's actually quite nice and definitely gets up to speed very quickly. Now, of course, you can get the hybrid Maverick as well, so that's a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder pair with a hybrid system and kind of like a CVT, and that only will power the front wheels, not all four, so you need to get the turbocharged 4-cylinder if you want to have all-wheel drive actually in the Maverick. Though that hybrid is really impressive, getting around almost 40 MPG. I think it's around 37. People have maxed it out. I've seen some people get near 40 too, which is pretty impressive. And you still have all that capability of the rear bed, the rear seats, and it can start all the way down around $24,000. But for around $31,000, you're getting a lot with this Maverick Tremor. This is a powerful engine. It's around 250 horsepower, if I haven't mentioned already, and 277 pound-feet of torque. The 8-speed gearbox is pretty smooth. I haven't had any complaints or issues with it. And since this is a car platform, it's a unibody car platform, you know, it's shared with the Bronco Sport and the Ford Escape. It's very competent on the road. I think with this softer suspension, more off-road focused suspension, as well as the beefier tires, it's soaking up all the bumps on the road, and it just feels really smooth. And like I said, in here you have pretty basic system, so this infotainment system isn't the craziest thing on the planet. That's why I just say plug in Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and you really don't need to do anything crazy here. Let's test that acceleration real quick for you guys. that was not my foot flat to the floor actually, and you still get a lot of low end torque. It's definitely torquey, which is fantastic. And now we're up to highway cruising speeds, and it's so smooth and generally pretty quiet in here. It's quieter than some other cars, especially some Subarus and some entry-level Toyotas that I've heard in this interior, which is pretty impressive. And there's nothing fancy. There's no noise canceling, no noise insulation, and from looking under the hood, there's a lot of, or at least a lack of, any sort of sound deadening. And I'm impressed of how quiet this cabin actually is, especially with these larger all-terrain tires on here. And I love this little graph here. You can see your torque distribution. So it's primarily driving in front wheel drive. It's only really when you need to send power to the rear wheels under normal driving, it will do so, unless you press it into the lock mode, which will send power to all four wheels on demand. Again, it's really comfortable on roads. And I have to say, for a vehicle that's kind of like with an off-road package, as well as something that has all this utility, it composes it so well on the road. I'm not gonna lie, this has more ground clearance than the Toyota RAV4 Prime I'm also driving this week, and it handles itself way better, I think, around corners. It feels flatter to the ground actually. It doesn't have as much body roll, which is pretty impressive. I think that might be due to the suspension setup on this car. It's pretty impressive actually, and for a daily commute, it's just really good. The steering also doesn't feel like a cheap steering. And like, I've driven some more expensive Kias where the steering feels like it's like you can turn it and wiggle it around before you actually have anything happening with the front wheels. This feels really just natural, and I appreciate that with Ford's done here. And you know, visibility out of this car, I mentioned in the full review, is pretty decent. These A-pillars are a little bit chunky though. You do have massive side mirrors with some built-in blind spot monitoring in there as well. This little car gets up and goes really quickly, which is pretty fun actually. I do appreciate that. And you have all the nice amenities like your lane departure warning and stuff. You have your cruise control. You also have automatic brake holds when you come to a stop. It holds the brakes, as we all know now. So you have all those amenities as well. So you're not really missing out on much. And sure, this interior may not be, you know, like some kind of luxury car or a nice space to be in, as some people might say, but it's fine and it's perfect for what this car is trying to be and meant to be. It's not trying to be something that it's not, and I think I really appreciate that. And you know, it has one true main rival in the US market right now, and that would be the Hyundai Santa Cruz. And that thing really doesn't have any sort of true off-road package. It also isn't the most off-road kind of styled vehicle either. I think that's even more of a utilitarian city type, I don't even know which crossover style little vehicle than this, because that has a dual clutch gearbox, and that's not the best thing you're going to really want when you're in an off-road setting. Those clutches can get hot and they can maybe overheat over time, especially in some harder load settings. So I actually appreciate that there is a automatic gearbox in the Maverick, especially for this Tremor package. Now, that's not to say Hyundai can't come on later on and add some kind of N off-road package or whatever they want to call it, but I still think I might take this over the Hyundai Santa Cruz. There's a lot of fun turbo whoosh sounds coming from under this hood as well, which is kind of cool. Brakes are pretty good. It's not too much pitch and dive when you're braking hard as well. And, oh my gosh, look at that Jaguar XF Sport Brake. Those are super rare, guys. Just nerding out there for a second, but nonetheless, really impressed with this Maverick so far, especially driving over it the past week. Huge thanks to Ford for letting me loan this. And the space in here is just incredible. I have an insane amount of headroom, insane amount of like leg and knee room, even up front, as well as the back. You have a decent amount of space for passengers. Not the most, but you can definitely fit them back there. The seats are super cushy as well. No heated seats, I will note that, and there's no obviously no cooled seats, but it's a utilitarian truck, and I think it's fine with this cloth material. I find that on like leather or vinyl seats, those will get hotter in the summer than this actually. So this has a little bit better like just natural ventilation built into it. I do want to take you guys on the highway, the real highway, for a second, just to show you what it sounds like at higher cruising speeds. I'm going to test out this Co-Pilot 360 system from Ford. This is one of the more basic systems on the market. It's nothing too fancy, no Blue Cruise or anything in this car. It's just incredible how car-like this thing drives. Obviously it is a car platform, but you see the bed and some people think, oh, it's gonna drive like a big truck. It just doesn't at all. I think that's a huge plus for this Maverick. I love all the turbo sounds coming from this engine as well. Super fun. Let's test out Ford's Copilot 360 system here. And again, as all these cruise systems these days are pretty easy to activate as well. You just pop on your cruise control, set your speed, and you're already up and going. Now, it's a pretty more basic style cruise control system. It's nothing like advanced. It's not going to really steer for you. So don't be looking for that if you're going to be getting into a Maverick. But it does have a little vibration if you kind of bounce outside the lanes, which is helpful. We're around 70 miles an hour now. Now you can kind of start hearing some more noise from the tires. Obviously, these are more off-road oriented tires, so that is going to be as expected. And look at that, Apple CarPlay is on. Don't need to really interact with the Ford infotainment system. And I do actually quite like, so let's say if you are in the Ford infotainment system and you press maps, it's going to go default straight to Apple CarPlay's mapping system. And that even goes for the phone. It'll go straight to your Apple CarPlay phone, which I think is pretty cool. So I guess Ford really is pushing the usage of Apple CarPlay in the Maverick versus even using their own infotainment system, which honestly I think is pretty fine, because that means they're able to save costs and put that money elsewhere in this vehicle versus developing or just putting in their higher end software systems that they have in their higher end products. So yeah guys, using this cruise control is pretty easy, simple to use, nothing too advanced, nothing too crazy. And of course when you need to pass or just get up to speed on the highway, you have that power, especially with this EcoBoost engine under the hood. And yeah, and another huge benefit I would definitely say for the Maverick versus like a more off-road, another huge benefit I would definitely say for the Maverick versus a real truck platform, especially for someone who doesn't want to have like that bigger style vehicle, is just the stability, I would say, on the highway, on the road. So you really can drive this on road trips and distances without kind of feeling like it's a little bit more wobbly over the place that you might get as an effect out of some of those bigger body on frame trucks I have noticed from driving them. So again, that car-like attitude in the Maverick is super, super welcome here. Otherwise guys, this has been a wonderful week in the 2023 Ford Maverick. If you haven't gone to see one of these trucks or gone to experience one of them, I definitely recommend checking it out at a Ford dealer if they have them in stock near you, because they're pretty cool for what they are. Any major complaints that I have? Well, I mean, there aren't much. If there's, and I don't mean to say there really aren't any complaints, because there are some little things here, but it's just generally for what this is trying to be and for what it is, I think it executed really, really well. Some complaints, if I am going to start throwing in some, is the engine sound is unflattering, to say the least. It's a little bit raspy and noisy, and this EcoBoost 4-cylinder is not actually the most economical thing on the planet. I'm averaging around 20 miles to the gallon, and I know that you can get that hybrid, which is incredible fuel efficiency. So that is also an option, and just one minor complaint I guess I would have there. And honestly, that's pretty much it. I know Ford, I can just feel them putting in a better infotainment system down the road. Again, not a necessary option, but I could definitely see them doing that. And maybe down the line they'll add some more standard features, because right now a lot of things are an option. I think that was done on purpose to kind of get you into the cheapest truck as possible. But I think once a few more model years of the Maverick come out, they're going to see what more customers are wanting as standard features in the Maverick, and we may see those come standard down the road. Nonetheless, I think everything in this truck is pretty decent. So anyways, thank you guys for joining me on this drive of the 2023 Ford Maverick Tremor in the XLT trim. And of course, as always, stay tuned for a lot more coming soon. Cheers.